Good morning, everyone. So before we start, I am Francisco Gianni, the first reporter of the topic Chapter 8, Parts and Functions of Animals, along with my members, Valoria Christian, Sumalinog Mary Ann, and Tahanlangit Kate. So let's get started now with our introduction. Animals are multicellular. So when we say multicellular, everyone, it is what? It is composed of one or more cells. Heterotrophic eukaryotes. So when we say heterotrophic, so unlike plants, animals cannot produce their own food because animals eat other living organisms, ingest them, and use enzymes to break down the foodstuffs for use in their bodies. With that, aerobic respiration, it is a chemical process that uses oxygen to produce energy from glucose molecules. For example, by breaking them down to CO2, or also known as carbon dioxide, and water. So energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate is released for use by different cellular and organism processes. And with that, we belong to the animal kingdom because we eat other living organisms. And during the last billion years of evolution, animals probably originated from a group of protists called the choanoflagellates. And this is verified by morphological and molecular evidence. And an individual choanoflagellate protist is indistinguishable from a color cell in a sponge, and it is similar color cells are present in some cnidarians, flatworms, and echinoderms. And in this chapter, we will discuss the parts and functions of animals with special reference to the human body. As we all know, organ systems are composed of organs, which in turn are composed of tissues and specialized cells. So we have here the learning outcomes. At the end of this chapter, the learners should be able to, number 1, describe the nature and characteristics of animals. Number 2, distinguish some animal tissues. And lastly, number 3, discuss the major organ systems of animals and their functions. As you can see, here is a picture of a sperm, an egg, and a zygote. Parts of an animal can be better understood if we trace its development, diba? So the sperm, as you can see the picture, the sperm here fertilizes eggs, and the resulting zygote undergoes development by subsequent mitotic divisions or cleavage. So we have here the zygote become a cleavage, and then the cleavage becomes an 8-cell stage, and what? A blastola is formed, which further differentiates into a what? A gastrola. A gastrola has a structure with 3 layers of cells, namely the ectoderm, endoderm, and the mesoderm. So let's start first with the ectoderm. So the ectoderm gives rise to the outer layer of the animal, such as the skin, the fur, the hair, and the horns. It also gives rise to the central nervous system. The second layer is the endoderm. It is the innermost layer and gives rise to the various internal organs. And the third layer is known as the middle layer, the mesoderm. It gives rise to the muscles, bones, and other connective tissues. In some animals, the gastrola further develops into an embryo, which subsequently exhibits rapid growth and further tissue differentiation to become a what? A fetus. And finally, a newborn baby. While some animals have larval stages which undergo metamorphosis. So differential gene expression leads to the formation and maturation of specialized tissues in the animal, which eventually produce organs and organ system. So our very first topic of the parts and functions of animals is about the animal's specialized tissues. So as you can see in the picture, we have 4 types of tissue: the connective tissue, the epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. So let's focus first on the epithelial tissue. So epithelium or epithelial tissue is the what? It is the outer protective covering of the animal body. So in humans, diba, the skin is composed of the outer layer of cells called the epidermis. While in plants, epidermis is just a single layer of cells. Sweat glands are found in the lower layer of the dermis. And did you know that epithelial cells are referred to as squamous, cuboidal, or columnar? As you can see in the picture. A simple epithelium consists of only one layer of cells. And if there are 2 or more layers of cells, it is called stratified. We are done now with the epithelium or epithelial tissue. So let's now go with the connective tissues. The connective tissues include the blood, the cartilage, the bone, and the connective tissue proper. So as we all know, blood is a tissue composed of the red blood cells, the white blood cells, the platelets, and the liquid portion called the plasma. So let's focus first with the red blood cells. So the red blood cells, it supplies, and as you can see in the picture, the red blood cell over here, yes, the red one. The red blood cells supply oxygen to all body cells. And the white blood cells, this one, like the blue one or something, or the reddish, I know, not the red, the violet with blue. So that is the white blood cell. So the white blood cells fight invading bacteria and viruses. And then the platelets. The platelets are like the orangey something. So that is the platelets. So the platelets are important in blood clotting. With that, the blood serves to transport nutrients throughout our body because they also carry hormones secreted by the endocrine glands for proper metabolic processes. So vitamins, important compounds, and ions are carried by the blood plasma. The blood plasma here is the very orange stuff, liquid something. And then blood is filtered by the kidneys, which form urine to eliminate toxic waste from the body. So we're now done with the blood and its different types inside the blood vessel. Okay, let's now discuss about the cartilages. So the cartilages are found in joints and special parts of the body. So cartilage cells are also called the chondrocytes. So I have a picture here of the chondrocyte. I have the mitochondria, the nucleus, the lacunae. The chondrocytes is over here. Kanina sa kinaubsan. So it is embedded in the matrix. And during this development, the cartilage hardens to become bone tissue with cells called the osteocytes. So the other picture here is the picture of osteocyte. Kani. So that is it. So let us now discuss about the connective tissue proper. So connective tissue proper may be loose or dense. So the first picture here is an example of a loose connective tissue, while the other picture, like the very pink, is the dense connective tissue. And both of them contain cells, fibers, and ground substance. The dermis is a connective tissue because it contains fat cells and other forms of white blood cells. And dense connective tissue has more layers of protein fibers such as collagen, reticulin, and elastin. And tendons and ligaments are also an examples of a dense connective tissues. So we're now done with the connective tissue. Let's discuss about the muscle cell or the muscle tissue. So the muscle cell is also referred to as muscle fiber. It is the basic unit in muscular contraction. Muscle cells contain the proteins actin and myosin, and they can be classified as to skeletal or voluntary striated, the smooth or involuntary, or cardiac as a striated but involuntary. So in the nervous system, the basic unit is the neuron or nerve cell. So as you can see in the picture, I have here the three muscle tissue. The cardiac muscle is in the heart, smooth muscle is in the intestine, and then the skeletal muscle is in the bones. Bones in the feet. Okay. And the second picture here is a picture of the nerve cell. So, yeah, we have the dendrite, the soma, nucleus, myelin, and axon. Para masabtan na ninyo ang nerve cell, the dendrites over here, as you can see, it receives the impulses that are carried across the cell body and into the axon, coated with the myelin sheath. So eventually, the impulse is transmitted to other neurons or effector cells to initiate what? A muscular contraction. Para mulihok. So the muscle cells and nerve cells are very unique to animals. We're done now with the animal specialized tissues. We have the four: the epithelial or epithelium tissue, the connective tissue, the muscle tissue, and the nervous tissue. Okay, next to this is about the human body systems. Animals are classified as vertebrates or invertebrates. When we say invertebrates, these are animals without spines, while vertebrates have a spine. An example of an invertebrates, kung walay spine, are mga jellyfish, mollusks, sea stars, or starfish. The vertebrates here are the fish, the birds, the reptile, the amphibians, and the mammals. And also us humans, we are vertebrates. Okay, next. They usually follow a general body plan. And I have here a picture of the insect body plan. It consists of the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. So, napaman siya daghan nga parts. We have here this is a beam, This is the antenna, the mouth parts, the legs, the wings. But the most important body plan of an insect is the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Okay, next. So animals have a radial symmetry like in sea anemones. So a picture here of a sea anemones is this one. When we say radial symmetry, unsa man ni sila? Radial symmetry is when an object or an organism has a consistent pattern that repeats around a central point. Well, the humans have a bilateral symmetry with left and right. So bilateral symmetry is when one half of an object or organism is a mirror image of the other half. So the dorsal side is the top side, while the ventral refers to the bottom side, and the front end is the anterior side with the head and the neck, and the back end is called the posterior side. Now we all know the radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So throughout evolution, humans, like other primates, have undergone massive development of the anterior end to contain a central nervous system, or the brain. And this evolutionary trend is called the cephalization. And this allowed the successful evolution of humans who developed various organ systems for survival and maintenance. So in this chapter, we will concentrate on the human organ systems. We're done now with the animal specialized tissues and the human body system. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something from my topic. Before I leave, I am Francisco Jenny. So the next topic will be reported by Miss Sumalinog Mary Ann.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mary Ann May Sumalinog, and I am the next reporter for today. So, the integumentary system. What is integumentary system? The integumentary system is the body's outer layer made up of the skin, hair, nails, and the glands and nerves in the skin. So it protects the body from injury, infection, bacteria, and sunlight. So it also helps regulate body temperature and allows for the feeling of skin sensations like hot and cold. So, ang integumentary class is the outer layer of the body composed of skin, hair, nails, and the glands and nerves found in the skin. So, murag siya ang first lines of defense sa imuhang lawas. Its main role is to protect the body from injury, infections, bacteria, and even harmful sunlight. So, aside from protection, it also helps regulate body temperature. Imagine if walay sweet, mag-init kayo, right? So, plus, it lets you feel different sensations like init, tugnaw, or even pain. So, this system is super important because it's like your shield and sensory guide sa imuhang daily life. So, the next is the function and structure of integumentary system. So, function, the skin acts as the body's first line of defense against viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens. So, the structure is a cross-section diagram illustrate the skin's layer and components including the hair, shaft, hair, follicle, sebaceous gland, epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. So the skin is body's first line of defense against viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens. So mura siya kanang frontline soldier sa imuhang immune system, always ready to protect you from harmful invaders. So when it comes to its structure, the skin is super detailed. If you look at the cross-section diagram, you'll see its different layers and components. So sa kanang picture nung kay imong makita ang mga different layers and components. So this includes the hair shaft, kanang part nga makita nimo sa gawas. So ang hair follicle sa kay mao na siya sa asa nag-grow ang hair. So ang sebaceous gland kay mao na siya ang muproduce og oil para dili dry imong skin. So the epidermis kay outermost layer. So ang kanang dermis kay mao na siya ang middle layer, and the hypodermis kay mao na siya ang innermost layer nga mo store og fat og isolate sa imuhang body. So each part has its role, and together they make sure imong body is protected and functioning well. So next is digestive system. So what is digestive system? So digestive system is a group of organs that work together to digest and absorb nutrients from the food you eat. So ang kaning digestive system is a group of organs that work together para ma-process ang food nga imong gikaon. So its main role is to break down the food into smaller parts para ma-absorb sa imong body ang nutrients which are needed for energy, growth, and repair. So from the time you eat, the food travels through different organs like mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. So ang uban nga organs like the liver and pancreas also helps by producing enzymes and belly. So para mas ma-digest ang food properly, murag teamwork kaayo sila to keep your body healthy. So in digestive system, so they have two parts. So the feeding strategies and dietary needed. So ang kaning feeding strategies kay animals have diverse feeding strategies. herbivorous plants eaters, carnivorous meat eaters, and omnivorous both plant and meat eaters. So kaning feeding strategies kay about ni siya sa kanang animals, sa kanang parts sa animals ba. So animals have different feeding strategies depending on unsa ilahang need nga preference sa pagkaon. So they are herbivorous, these are plants eaters like cows and rabbits. Then naapod ang carnivorous which are meat eaters like lions and tigers. So lastly, kay we have omnivorous nga mo-eat of both plants and meat like humans and bears. So each group has its own way of surviving and getting the nutrients they need. So murag Buffett pero ang uban pilian while others are willing to eat whatever is available. So dietary needs, so having a balanced diet is super important kay. So it provides everything your body needs to stay healthy. So this includes carbohydrates for energy, fats for energy storage and insulation, proteins for muscle growth and repair, and essential nutrients like vitamins and minerals para mo function ang imuhang organs properly. So this is all about kanang part sa imuhang body hang kaning dietary needs. Okay, and now let's proceed food processing stages. So in food processing stages involves 4 key stages. So they have ingestion, digestion, absorption, elimination. So ang ingestion class kay this is the part where you take in food kanang murag kanang simple act of eating or drinking. So ang digestion kay after ingestion ang food gets broken down into the smaller particles. Mao ni siya enzymes and acids in your digestive system. So makahelp ni siya para mas dali ma-absorb ang nutrients. So ang absorption kay in this stage the nutrients from the digested food are absorbed into the bloodstream. So ang imong body mo take in what it you needs for energy and growth. So sa elimination kay lastly ang mga undigested waste or kanang dili magamit sa imong body. So are removed through elimination. So this is your body's way of keeping itself clean. So in the next slide is all about the human digestive system. So human digestive system is an alimentary canal where food moves in one direction. So they are peristalsis, involuntary muscle constructions help move food through the system. So ang kaning the human digestive system is basically like this long tube where food travels into one direction. So sakto ba? So we can call it the alimentary canal. So ang process kay dili lang basta-basta because the body has this thing called peristalsis. It's like this involuntary muscles movement. So namurag automatic na mo push sa food forward. So even if you lie down or move around, the food still goes through the system. So oral cavity. So food enters the mouth where teeth and saliva containing amylase begin breaking down starch to tongue forms to bolus. So stomach. The stomach stores and digests food. Gastric juice, hydrochloric acid and enzymes breaks down proteins forming shame. The stomach lining's mucus protects it from acidic game. So ang kaning kuan, ang oral cavity kay sa food enters your mouth. So food enters your mouth, no. So sa mouth you grind the food while your saliva which has amylase. So murag enzyme na. So it starts breaking down from the starch. After that, the tongue gathers everything and forms this thing called a bolus. So parang football na easy to swallow siya. So ang stomach, so now pag-abot sa stomach, it acts like storage and digestion center. The stomach releases gastric juice which is a mix of hydrochloric acid and enzymes. So to break down proteins, so it turns the food into the massive stuff called chyme. So pero don't worry, the stomach lining has mucus to protect it from the super acidic game. Okay, in the next slide, they have small intestine. So K moves into the small intestine, duodenum, jejunum, ileum, secretions from the liver, bile, pancreas, enzymes, and the intestinal wall further break down food, absorption of nutrients and water occurs here. So, after the food turns into the chyme, it moves into the small intestine, which is divided into three parts, the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So, pag abot sa small intestine, secretions from the liver bile, pancreas, enzymes, and the walls of the intestine, it helps break down the food even more. The real magic happens. This is where your body absorbs all the nutrients and water from the food. So in short, the small intestine is like your body's main absorption area. So small intestine. So the small intestine's inner surface is greatly increased by folds, veil, and microscopic projections, microvilli, so to maximize nutrient absorption. So epithelial cells absorb monosaccharides and fatty acids. Fats are reassembled into chylomicrons and enter the lymphatic system. So capillaries transport other nutrients. Okay, so the inside of the small intestine has these folds called villi, and then there are even smaller projections on them called microvilli. So it's like an intense network of tiny finger-like structures, and the purpose is to maximize the absorption of nutrients. So more surface area, more nutrients to absorb. So in absorption, now the epithelial cells sa wall of the small intestine absorb things like monosaccharides, sugar, and fatty acids. For fats, they get reassembled into cyclomerons. So murag fat particles ba before entering the lymphatic system, pero for other nutrients like proteins and carbs, the capillaries or small blood vessels transport them to the bloodstream para ma-distribute sa body. So they are the part of small intestine. We have a liver, stomach, large intestine, and small intestine. So sa liver, the liver is super important because it produces bile, so which helps break down fats. So it also stores some nutrients and detoxifies harmful substances sa body. So in stomach, pag abot sa stomach, food is mixed with gastric juice, which includes hydrochloric acid and enzymes that breaks down proteins. So it then turns into the mushy to protect it from the acid. So after that, in the large intestine, the food moves to the large intestine. So the body absorbs the remaining water and nutrients. The waste solidifies as it moves through the colon, and eventually it's stored into the rectum before elimination. So lastly, in the small intestine, so first food goes to the small intestine where of the digestion happens. So it's divided into three parts: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So here the nutrients from the food get absorbed into the bloodstream. So in the next slide, we have respiratory system. The respiratory system facilitates gas exchange, oxygen, and carbon dioxide out. The respiratory medium differs for terrestrial air and aquatic water animals. Aquatic animals face challenging in absorbing oxygen from water. So, different animals have evolved various respiratory structure. A thin, moist epithelium with large surface area is typical. So, ang kani siyang respiratory system is about na ni siya sa kanang animals kung unsaon nila pag-survive. So, we have gills, tracheal systems, and lungs. So, these are the part of animals. So, ang gills are found in aquatic animals like fish. They're like outgrowths from the body that hang in the water. So, ang fish, they actively pump water over the gills para mas dali makuha ang oxygen. So, the water flows into the opposite direction compared to the blood. We call this counter-current flow, which helps maximize oxygen absorption. Ang gill filaments and labillae, tiny structures, increase the surface area for gas exchange. So, ang tracheal system, these are insects on the other hand, have a tracheal system. This is basically a network of tiny air tubes that spread throughout their body. So these tubes directly deliver oxygen to their cells through even smaller tubes called tracheoles. So wala sila lang so ang kani sila kay wala ni sila lungs pero they still get the oxygen they need through this system. So lungs. For terrestrial animals like humans, we have lungs. Lungs are outgrowths of the body surface. Sa humans, the process starts when air enters through the mouth or nose, then passes through the nasal cavity and pharynx. So from there, it goes down to the trachea and bronchi before reaching the lungs. Inside the lungs, gas exchange happens and oxygen gets absorbed while carbon dioxide is expelled. So now, the epiglottis prevents food from entering the trachea during swallowing. So the epiglottis is a small flap of tissue that helps protect the trachea or windpipe. When you swallow, it closes off the opening to the trachea para dili mapaas ang food or liquid sa airway. So it's like a safety feature para dili magka-aspiration or ma-choke kana matukan. So and now let's proceed to our respiratory system. So, ang respiratory system is the passage describe how oxygen enters the body through the trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles, ultimately reaching the alveoli in the lungs. So, gas exchange. Oxygen uptake and carbon dioxide release occurs across the alveoli, thin epithelium, and capillaries. So when you breathe in, oxygen enters the body through the trachea, which is like main airway. So from there, the air travels down to the bronchi, which are big tubes, and then into smaller tubes called bronchioles. So eventually, the air reaches the alveoli in the lungs. These are tiny sacs where the magic happens. So in gas exchange happens in the alveoli, which have a super thin epithelium or wall and are surrounded by tiny blood vessels called capillaries. So oxygen from the air moves into the blood, and at the same time, carbon dioxide from the blood moves into the alveoli to be exhaled. So oxygen gets absorbed while carbon dioxide is released from the body. So in the next slide, these are the part of respiratory system. So sphenoid sinus, pharynx, epiglottis, larynx, pleural cavity, alveoli, right lung, diaphragm, frontal sinus, nasal cavity, oral cavity, trachea, bronchus or bronchiole, and left lung. So in circulatory system, the circulatory system functions into the transport nutrients and oxygen throughout the body. Two types of circulatory system are described: open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. So, open circulatory system found in arthropods and mollusk. This system has hemolymph, a fluid that bathes the organs directly. One or more hearts pump the hemolymph. So, ang closed circulatory system found in humans' blood is confined to vessels, arteries, veins, capillaries. Blood flows in one direction. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Veins return the blood to the heart, and capillaries facilitate exchange of materials, tissue. So in a open circulatory system, kay mono siya ang the blood or hemolymph doesn't stay inside blood vessels. So it actually bathes the organs directly. So this system is common in animals like arthropods, insects, and mollusks like snails, where the heart pumps hemolymph around the body, but it's not confined to vessels. So sa closed circulatory system, like in humans, the blood stays inside blood vessels. It flows into a continuous loops or arteries. So carry blood away from the heart, veins return it, and capillaries help exchange gases and nutrients in the tissues. This system is more efficient for larger animals. So these are the open and closed circulatory system, and so in the right side is open circulatory system and their parts. So ang part sa open circulatory system is artery, body cells, ostia valves. So There is a left side, guy. We have closed circulatory system. So same ra sila sa ug kanang kuan part sa open circulatory system. So now let's proceed to vertebrate hearts have two or more chambers. So atria, receiving chambers, and ventricles, pumping chambers. So single circulation, double circulation, and in humans deoxygenated blood. So sa vertebrate hearts kay have different chambers, mainly the atria where the blood enters and the ventricles where the blood is pumped out. So in single circulation, so in fish or sa kanang animal nga fish, kay they have a single circulation system. So their heart only has two chambers. One is atrium and one is ventricle. So the blood passes through the heart. So double circulation. So mga amphibians, reptiles, and mammals like humans, we have double circulations. Our heart has four chambers, two atria and two ventricles. So ang blood passes through the heart twice in a one complete circuit. First, the deoxygenated blood enters the right atrium, then goes to the right ventricle and gets pumped to the lungs for oxygenation. So after that, the now oxygen rich blood goes back to the heart before being pumped to the rest of the body. So in the next slide, oxygenated blood returns to the left atrium, then to the left ventricle, and finally is pumped to the body via to the aorta systemic circulation. So ang kaning oxygenated blood circulation, so once the blood gets oxygenated in the lungs, it goes back to the earth. So it enters the left atrium first, then allows into the left ventricle, and from there it's pumped out to the rest of the body through aorta. So this called systematic circulation, and it's how oxygen and nutrients are delivered to all the tissues. So ang kaning capillary beads class, so sa tissues we have capillary beads, which are tiny blood vessels where the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste product happens. So this is where the blood gives oxygen to the tissues and picks up carbon dioxide and other waste materials. So in deoxygenated blood, after the blood has delivered oxygen and nutrients, it becomes deoxygenated. So this deoxygenated blood then returns to the heart through the veins, ready na siya to get oxygenated against sa lungs. So that's all for today, class. Thank you.
Good day everyone. By the way, I am Christian Escabas Valorio and I am the one who report the excretory system. So, what is the excretory system? The definition of the excretory system is it consists of organs which remove metabolic waste and toxins from the body. So, the excretory system is part ni siya sa atong lawas nga maoy tigtangtang sa mga toxins, mga hugaw sa atong lawas. Just like a house needs to throw out garbage to stay clean. Our body needs to get rid of waste to work properly. So para mas dili ta madaling magkasakit is ang excretory system is mauni siya ang tiglimpyo sa atong lawas. As you can see in the pictures above, there are many parts of the excretory system. There are a kidney, ureters, bladder, urethra, and skin and sweat glands, lungs, and liver. So all of this is have a role, and na sila tagsa-tagsa ka role para maoy mo limpyo sa atong lawas. So, ang kidney is they clean our blood by removing extra water, salt, and waste. So, sa katong mga tubig-tubig sa tong lawas, mga aslom, mga hugaw is mao na ang kidney maoy tiglimpyo ana or tig remove. And the ureters is gamay ni siya nga tube that carry urine from the kidneys to the bladder. And the bladder is it is a small bag nga maoy tigpugong para maoy mo release. And the urethra is a tube that carries urine from the bladder out of your body. And the skin and sweat glands, your skin helps remove some waste through sweat, which cools your body and gets rid of extra salt. And the lungs is mao ni siya tigtangtang sa mga carbon dioxide, waste gas if mo ginhawa ka or when you breathe out. And the liver is mao tiglimpyo sa mga harmful chemicals and send them to the kidneys or intestines nga dapat i-remove. So, why the excretory system is important? Because as what I've said earlier, it removes waste, keeps balance, prevents sickness, helps other system. So the excretory system works every day. Even ikaw ay matog, they are still work to keep your body clean and healthy. Drinking enough water, eating healthy food, and exercising help them system stay strong. And now let's proceed the nervous system. So, nervous system is like the body's communication system. It helps you feel, think, move, and react to the world around you. So, kitang pagtanan naman siguro no is very familiar na sa word nga nervous system. So, ang nervous system is maude siya ang tig-control sa tanan sa tong lawas, from breathing and walking to learning and emotions. So, as you can see in the pictures above, there are many parts of the nervous system, and same as usual, there are different rule of parts of the nervous system. Let's proceed to the brain. Ang brain or ang utok is mao din siya is ang to control center of the body. It means mao ni siya ang boss. Mao ni siya ang imong gustong buhaton, ang utok maoy maguna. If na kay gustong buhaton, kanang na kay gusto isulti, or even na kay gustong ipahiwatig sa imong mga kaila. It sends and receive messages to keep your body working. And the spinal cord is like a highway for messages. Connect rin siya sa brain to the rest of your body. And the nerves is tiny wires that carry messages. Makita rin siya sa all over our body. Connect rin siya sa atong brain and spinal cord. There are two types of nerves, the sensory nerves and the motor nerves. The sensory nerves is carry messages to the brain about things you feel, like touch, pain, or temperature, while the motor nerves, it carry messages from the brain to our muscle to help you move. And how the nervous system works. The nervous system works like this, like you touch something hot, like makaingon ka nga kainit, inig na kay kapon nga kanang kayo nga butang is maka feel line ka nga, or ma feel nimo if unsa ang imong nahikapan is like init or bugnaw. Your brain is quickly decide what to do and sends a message back through the spinal cord and motor nerves. So, the nervous system is very important because it controls everything, helps you think and feel, senses the world, coordinates body function, and keep you safe. And there are a two types of nervous system. I mean, it consists the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, it comprises the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, it comprises the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. And it is the vertebrate nervous system. As you can see, the brain and the spinal cord is under by the central nervous system, and the somatic autonomic under by the motor pathways, and the motor pathways and the sensory pathways is under by the peripheral nervous system. And now, let's proceed to the parasympathetic innervation. So, the parasympathetic innervation is part of the autonomic nervous system, which controls many body processes that happen automatically without us thinking about them. It is often called the rest and digest because it helps the body relax, recover, and do things like digest food and conserve energy. So, how the parasympathetic innervation works? There are the main rule. The parasympathetic calms the body after stressful or active situations. Ang parasympathetic innervation di ay is mao ang tig-relax or tig-recover sa imong lawas if you're so very stressed or kanang you're so very tired. And the number 2, it is the parasympathetic signals travel through specific nerves such as the vagus nerve and the pelvic nerves. So how the vagus nerve and pelvic nerves is important? Because the vagus nerve, it controls many organs like the heart, lungs, and the digestive system. And the pelvic nerves, it is maoy tig control sa imong lower body functions like sa bladder and the reproductive organs. So, and how it sends signals? Syempre, signals start in the brain or spinal cord. They travel through the parasympathetic nerves to the target organs, including the heart, stomach, and the intestines. So, the nerves release a chemical called acetylcholine nga maoy tigsulti sa organs to slow down or relax. So, and the effects on the body of the parasympathetic nervous and the heart is slows down your heart rate to conserve energy. And the lungs, it reduces breathing rate for calm, steady breaths. The digestive system, it increases the activity, helping break down food and absorb nutrients. And the eyes makes the pupil smaller to focus on close objects. And the bladder, it helps with urination by certain relaxing muscles. So, why the parasympathetic innervation it is important? Um, because it balances our body. Tig-support sa digestions. Tig-promote relaxation. Maka-conserve ta og energy. And it supports vital function. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Kaitan Langit, the next reporter to continue chapter 8, which is parts and functions of animals. So I am assigned to tackle about the sensory system and the musculoskeletal system. These systems are essential for how animals detect and respond to stimuli, and as well as how they move and interact with their environment. So let's begin by defining what is sensory systems. Sensory system detect and process information leading to motor responses. This system then sends signals to the brain which helps the body to react. To make it simple, these are the body senses like sight, hearing, smell, and so on. Okay, so now that we understand what is sensory system, let's move forward to sensory receptors. Sensory receptors are like the body translators, converting signals like lights or sounds into messages that the brain can understand. Without them, the sensory system wouldn't function at all. And also, it helps animals respond to their surroundings. Okay, so let's move forward to the functions of sensory pathways. So we have the reception. Reception detects external stimuli from the environment like light, sounds, or chemical signals. Next is transduction. Converts stimuli into electrical signals that can be interpreted by the nervous system. And third is transmission. Relays electrical signals through sensory neurons to the brain or spinal cords. And lastly is perception. The brain interprets the sensory signals, leading to conscious awareness and understanding of the stimuli like taste, sight, or sound. So, para masabtan siya, I have here an example. So, ang kaning signal kay nagrepresent the initial stimulus from the environment like light entering the eye. Kanang collection, the eye in the image symbolize the sensory receptors that collects the signals like hayag ayo siya or suwaw sa mata kung tanawon. After ana is mag-transduction na. This is the process of converting the collected signal into electrical signals that the brain can understand. After ana is mag-processing. The electrical signals travel through the nervous system to the brain, and the brain processes the information to interpret its meaning and decide on an appropriate response. And lastly, kay ang action na. The brain sends signals back to the body, initiating a response or a change in behavior like atong ihawa atong mata or dili ta mo tan-aw sa katong light kay sakit siya sa mata or suwaw. So by that, the image that I have provided shows that the brain sending a signal indicating a potential motor response. Now let's get to know the two types of modification in transduction of a stimulus. First is the amplification, is when sensory signals are strengthened to make them easier for the brain to process. So example, a bat or panike use echolocation. The sounds that they produce is weak, but it's amplified as it bounces back to help them detect objects in the dark. Second is adaptation. It is when sensory receptors become less sensitive to constant stimuli over time, so animals can focus on new or important changes. Example, a dog's senses of smell adapt to constant odors, which means familiar scents. It can focus on detecting new or interesting smell like a new person or hidden food. These adjustments allow animals to process stimuli efficiently and focus on important changes in their environment. So there are types of sensory receptors. First is the mechanoreceptors. These detect physical changes like pressure, touch, sound, and motion to sense changes in their surroundings. Second is electromagnetic receptors. These detect energy forms like light, electricity, and magnetism. Some animals, like snakes, can sense infrared radiation to help them locate prey by detecting heat. Third is thermoreceptors. These detect temperature changes, enabling animals to sense warm or cold. Example, polar bears. They need to find the right environmental temperature for survival. And fourth is chemoreceptors. These receptors detect chemicals in the environment, such as those involved in taste and smell. And lastly, we have the pain receptors. These receptors detect harmful stimuli such as extreme heat or pressure to help them protect their body from injury or harm. Finally, we are now in musculoskeletal system. This system is responsible for both movement and support. It is made up of muscle, which produce force, and skeletal system, which provides structures and protection. Together, they enable animals to move, respond to stimuli, and protect vital organs. So there are types of muscle, tulo ka buok, which is the skeletal muscle. These muscles are voluntary, meaning we can't consciously control them. They are responsible for movements like walking and running. Second is smooth muscle. These are involuntary, meaning they function without conscious control. They are found in structures like digestive tract, where they help move food along. And lastly is cardiac muscle, found only in the heart. These muscles are also involuntary. Each type of muscle serves a unique purpose in the body and contributes to overall movement and functions of the animals. So these are the structures of skeletal muscle: the muscle fibrils, muscle fibers, and sarcomeres. Next is the function of skeletal muscle. The skeletal system serves several vital functions, which is the locomotion. The skeleton provides the framework and support needed for muscle to generate movement. Second is support. It gives the body structures and support the internal organs. Third is protection. The skeleton protects delicate organs such as the brain and the heart and lungs. So there are also two types of skeleton, which is the exoskeleton. It is found outside the body, such as in insect, providing protection and support. Second one is the endoskeleton. It is found inside the body, like mammals, including animals. This type of skeleton supports and protects internal organs and provides a framework for muscle attachments. Again, exoskeleton found outside the body, while the endoskeleton found inside the body. In conclusion, we've seen how the sensory system helps animals detect and respond to environmental stimuli, and how the musculoskeletal system enables movements and provides support and protection. Together, these systems are crucial for the survival and function of animals, which allow them to perceive their surroundings and interact with the world in meaningful ways. So that's all for today, and thank you for your attention.